Hi, I'm Bob Canote and welcome back to the Camp Chaos Chronicles. Today we're going to get serious about our first cat rescue project out of the Texas XJS. Got a few problems we got to deal with before we even turn the key. So come on in and let's get started. Dang it. Originally the plan here for today was to deal with that corner of the car where the rodent in question had lunch and messed up all the wiring, trying to figure out where that relay goes and everything gets wired into it and all that sort of thing. With that in mind, what I did yesterday is pull the hood off. Lucky you. Yeah, lucky you. You're just a lucky guy. The whole goal was to try to get this thing, turn it over, and see if we could get it running. Well, what I did is pull the hood off, and then I started to go for a spark plug, so I could pull the plug out and put a little Marvel mystery oil in there to kind of lube the cylinders up and that sort of thing. We're also going to transfuse a couple of quarts of oil into the engine, the main bearings, so we can give this thing the best shot at running and not ruining it in the process. Yep. As I was going for that number one spark plug on the B side, couldn't even see it because that rodent that had lunch back there had taken up full-time residence in the Valley of Death in between the two banks. So what I did is I started blowing that stuff out, and it was an incredible amount of debris that I blew out of the top of the engine. Okay, not a big deal, except that during the course of that, I also discovered that, oops, yep, that's the wiring harness that goes to the second coil up front. This is the wiring that goes to the air conditioning compressor, which in itself is not a big issue, but if you look down in the valley, he sampled just about everything.
Oh, okay.
If you're a rat, that's hors d'oeuvres or dessert or whatever. It's, but the good news is, during the course of this, I got under the car, looked around. It is really dry under there. I mean, for a 34-year-old car, 33-year-old car, it really looks good. Exhaust system is pristine. In fact, there's a complete set of new Jaguar belts. Not CarQuest, not Napa. He went to Jaguar and got a complete set of belts for the front of the thing. It's got almost new tires on it. It looks like this guy was trying to do the right thing. So it must have been enough of a car where he thought that it was worth putting some time and effort into it. What Bill and I are doing right now is we're going to be removing the air conditioning compressor and the fuel rails and a significant amount of stuff on top of the engine so that we can get down into the valley between the banks of the V12 engine and accurately assess what damage has or hasn't been done by our rodent. Because you don't want to start one of these things up and have the potential of electrical shorts and fires and all that sort of thing, particularly when you've had your fuel injection hoses nibbled and one of those might be leaking. And so then you burn the whole shop down. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove all this stuff, replace the fuel injector hoses, have the fuel injector lines rebuilt, and just basically fix anything that needs to be fixed that's going to prevent it from running if we don't. So that's what our schedule looks like for the next 2 or 3 hours. What are you doing on a Saturday?
It starts here, and it comes through the middle of this connector right here.
Okay, so that's yellow and black there.
No, well, I think the wires have just faded. And there might be a bad spot in here, because like when I first started checking it,
Yeah.
you can see where this casing's opened up. When I first started checking it was open from here to here. And so we might have a bad wire that's in.
That one I think we're going to have.
Now that I've moved it around, now I have continuity all the way out to
Okay.
the end. But when I first checked it out here, and there was nothing. So I pulled this plug-in out and I checked it here and it was fine. But then after I pulled this out, because it loops down through here and then over to this side. Once I pulled it out, then it had continuity. So I'm in.
Okay, so that's cruise control.
The insulation is,
Compromised.
cut on it, and so it's possible that the wires are chewed up a little bit.
So what we can do is we can just pull that off, put that on the bench. When we get it running and we need to get the cruise control working, then we repair that. Passport to service. Electrical data. Hey, Tony, look at this. Does this help?
Yes.
All in the owner's manual. Now you got to wonder about a manufacturer that the first thing you see when you open up the folder is an electrical schematic diagram for the whole vehicle. I think you know where this is going right away. This is the Tony clipboard left over from past battles. I'll get you a pencil.
Yeah. Make sure it has an eraser.
Okay, there it is. At this point, it's a matter of finding the right hose, replacing the hoses all the way around. There's 3 hoses that are pressed together, like any hydraulic line. These need to be done too. You can see that. I mean, look at that right there. In fact, I could break that, no problem. I'm going to take these out and have these rebuilt. A lot of times what will happen is people will look at a piece like this, call their local retailer of Jaguar parts, and find that it's not available, and then, wring their hands, what do I do now? Well, look around your community. There should be a hydraulic hose shop that can rebuild those. The metal fittings are no problem. It's just getting that bit right there, the part that bursts and results in the usual engine fire on Jaguar V12s. Get that part replaced right there, and these will look and perform good as new. Now what you see here is the bucket. Now this is a 5-gallon plastic bucket that contains, is that what we need right there?
Yeah.
Contains all the relays and diodes and fuse holders and flashers and connectors for my XJS track car. When I redid the wiring harness on it, I pulled the old one out, and it was so hacked up from previous years of use in the track car and modifying it in order to make it work. I just finally rewired the whole car and took all of the connectors all the connectors and the relays and so forth, and threw them in here. And strangely enough, we're coming up with, so far, everything that we need, or most things that we need, in order to not only just get this thing working.
Hey, look at that.
Is that what you're looking at, or looking for?
Yeah, that's a diode wire. I think there's enough to be able to fix that. That's good.
So here is
Save that
a
one.
great example of how, number one, the parts car is an essential, and number two, don't throw anything away. Now, for whatever reason, whatever rodent this was, particularly liked spark plug wires. And if we look down here, you can see all these little acorns or chestnuts or whatever these things are. This guy actually lived down here, and he'd wake up at 1 or 2 in the morning and look over there and say, there's my early morning snack. Did that to about half of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all of these. Cost me maybe $50 for a new set of wires, which really, I mean, look at these. All of these are done. So he actually did a favor for me, because really these things should be replaced anyway. It's my story and I'm sticking with it. There is a fuel injection harness. Now, as bad as this looks, it's not really that bad. You can see that right here, our friend got at that, but he didn't actually, oh, he did. Well, he got down to the wires. That can be fixable. But the real issue here with this is the one that I had mentioned earlier. These clips get broken. Both sides should look like that. It's a very bad design for these things, because they break almost every time you use them. This one's okay. This one's okay. That one's broken. That one's broken. This one's okay. If I were to reuse this, what I would do is I would go through and replace all of the boots and all of the connectors, all of which I have on the shelf. But as it stands right now, I've got another one of these that is really in pretty good shape. And I will be using that one instead of this one when I put this back together. Now, as I was pulling this out, you may have noticed that I wasn't really marking anything to make sure they get back on the same injector. Well, the fact is, these things are labeled 1B. The B bank is on the left side. 1B is the front one. This should probably be 2B, except that the rat probably ate it. This one is 3B, 4B, and so forth. So it's pretty easy to keep track of what goes where. Well, we got a good start on the project today. Tony's got a plan for getting the electrical work done. I know what needs to be done on the nuts and bolts end of it. And if you like this video and you'd like to see more, like us, subscribe to us, follow us on social media, and next time on the Camp Chaos Chronicles, we're going to get this sucker running.